the Chase Thomas Podcast, for people who have nothing but time to kill.
Celtics don't walk through the East this year. I just don't know when they're going to walk through and break through, because it's just right there for them on a silver platter, for the Celtics to win 60 games and be the best team in the East. Buy or sell, though. DJ and Trae form the best backcourt duo in the East this year. Are you buying that or selling it with it? Full year, full offseason, Quin Snyder, full year with this group. Do you think they're actually going to have the best backcourt in the East?
I'm trying to think about who I'm comparing this with now. I mean, it's not Boston. It's not Philly.
Cleveland.
It might not be Philly. It's Cleveland. It's Cleveland. That's the right answer, Garrett. I would rather have Garland and Mitchell.
Would you?
I think they work better together.
Yeah, I think they're more complementary. I really like Garland too. Like I'm probably higher on Garland. Like I would trade Trae for Garland tomorrow.
Ooh,
Yeah, I would.
I could do
I
it.
really would. I
boy.
didn't know that was that controversial an opinion.
He's just like Trae's still a number 2, potentially on a title team.
Like, how can Trae ever be a number 2? His skills don't like align with that.
I mean, he could be a Kyrie on a title team.
Kyrie was playing with LeBron.
That's what I'm saying. He's a number 2. Like it's the right situation. Like you saw
Yeah,
it. Like
if you put Trae with like
Kevin Durant,
Jokic
and Phoenix,
and
or Jokic, yeah,
you
he could do what
know,
Jamal Murray did in the postseason.
He could. You're right, but I think Jokic could win a title with like a lot of.
I'm not disagreeing, but I'm saying there's a path. It's just the path is not Trae being the best player.
I get what you're saying. But if
Garland, I think, is the 3rd best player on a title team.
I don't know. I don't agree. Like I think I also think there's a question here of ceiling too, which like I think Trae, like we know who Trae is, and he's a really, really good player. I think Garland, there's still more in there.
I wouldn't even take Garland over Brunson. I would take Brunson.
Maybe I could see it. Regardless, Donovan Mitchell is significantly better than Dejounte Murray as a basketball player. I don't know.
That's a fair take.
I also think like the advantages that Dejounte gives you as a defender are kind of just like offset by Trae as a defender, right? So like if you were trying to say Garland and Mitchell are pretty weak defensively and they're kind of bailed out by Mobley and Allen, well, like Dejounte and Trae as a duo aren't that much better defensively. But yeah, I would take Cleveland. But I think that's it. I don't.
Is there a path, Garrett, to them having
the?
I think there is a path to them actually being. And what does that mean? Like if we're in February and DJ and Trae are both all-stars, because if this is the case and they're both all-stars, like if they're the best backcourt in the East this year, that means they're both all-stars. What does that mean record-wise? Because could that mean with the Sixers kind of imploding here this offseason, the Bucks having some injury questions? You look at the top of East, kind of topsy-turvy at this point outside of Boston. Is there a path that, if that's the case, they're a 2 or 3 seed potentially?
Well, yeah. I mean, if they reach their full potential in that backcourt, they're the best duo in the Eastern Conference. Of course they are. If they reach that potential, just because Trae Young at his very best is one of the best players in the NBA, especially at point guard. Like when he's playing his best basketball, like if you look at what he did in 2021 in that playoff run, like if he's just that guy, like he shoots efficiently, he makes his baskets, and he's assisting at a high level, he's one of the best players in the NBA. But the problem is he's not that most of the time. Most of the time he's chucking up bad shots and his efficiency is very low, and he gets frustrated, and sometimes he hogs the ball a little bit too much. And I like, look, he just has his frustrations, and I have my frustrations with him. But when he's playing at his highest level, he's really, really good. I agree with Max. Like I'd take Cleveland on like a standard playoff or not a non-playoff game or series or whatever. I would take those two in just a regular season contest. But I think we saw in Boston what a Trae and Dejounte duo could look like when they took Game 5. Like they go off and they just are both go back and forth between being unstoppable. If they are like that on a more consistent level, then great, I'll take that. I think that's going to be really good, and that's going to translate to a lot of regular season wins. My problem is we just haven't seen that yet, and I think the ceiling is there. And if they're both all-stars, then I think this team is going to be one of the top 3 teams in the Eastern Conference, at least by record, just because that's how good that those two can be. I don't know if we're going to actually see that, though. And there's there's just a difference between those two things.
If they're going to be the best backcourt in the East, then something has to change, right? And I think there's a pathway to what changes. I think with Dejounte's always been a better off the dribble shooter than catch and shoot, right? If through Quin or from some other way, like he becomes a better catch and shoot shooter, like that would change a lot. And then Trae, like everyone talks about it all the time, and it's become kind of a tired talking point. But like if he played more off the ball and got more like good looks from 3, that would change the dynamic of the offense, put the ball in Dejounte's hands more, and then they would become more complementary. So part of it involves, it's not like a selfishness thing from Dejounte. He just has to be more efficient on catch and shoot. But it definitely involves Trae being a little more unselfish. But I think that's there, right? Like I'm open to the idea that like Quin is going to improve specifically. Like, I don't know. Like, I think there's a world where Quin improves this team by like an order of magnitude just by like being here, and that's one way that might happen.
Yeah, and I think it's a trust thing for Trae. I don't think he trusted his team for a long time to be able to pick up and do and like carry the ball and still get the ball back to him. I think that comes with just time, and Quin Snyder, I think, can be that guy to help him sort of facilitate that trust factor. I don't know how relevant this is, but he has been training with Steph Curry over the offseason. And I don't know how relevant that's going to be. I don't know if it's going to translate at all. I don't know if it was just for social media. I have absolutely no idea. But I know that he does have a big old chip on his shoulder from not being over there in on the FIBA team. Like, not being on the national team, it's got to piss him off. And hopefully we see pissed off Trae. I love pissed off Trae, because whenever he has that big old chip on his shoulder, when he's not trying to do too much, if you can combine those two things, if Quin Snyder can do that, Trae can be a really good player. And I mean like one of the best players in the NBA. If like you can combine that 10-ton chip on his shoulder with him trusting his offense and trusting his team and playing within the flow of the offense and not shooting a damn 40-footer, just taking the ball up the court, then he can be really damn good. And the thing is, if he's that, I think Dejounte Murray gets better and the rest of the Hawks get better. And this team is one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. They'll finish in the top 4.
And I think him just embracing Quin Snyder, and I think the point about Quin, just like there's just an upgrade there, where I think this is the best coach Trae's had to this point. Part of me is kind of like, there's going to be a what if thing no matter what. Like, what if he gets Quin right away? Like, what if he comes into the NBA with Quin? What does Trae Young look like to this point? I think there's just going to be, I think the floor, Quin's a natural floor raiser. So I just think part of me here in late August, I'm like, I think I'm buying some, like, they deserve the benefit of the doubt. And I think this roster is starting to look like a roster that Quin can maximize. A lot of youth, still a mood to be made with Capela, but like there's still a lot of high upside guys. And like Trae getting back to the best version of himself or playing a little bit better. Dejounte, I think it'd be hard for me to see him having a worse year this year than he did last year. DeAndre Hunter, if he plays, this is a great system for him and a great situation for him. AJ Griffin, this should be great. Jalen Johnson is in the positive graces, it seems, with Quin, so he should have an uptick. I think Sadiq Bey is going to be awesome this year. Like, I'm by you guys know I've gobbled up all the Sadiq Bey stock here. And then will it be a net positive with John Collins just not being there? It's going to be more. It's going to be kind of wild to see Trae in this iteration of the Hawks, where I just think there's going to be the most amount of spacing he's ever played with in Atlanta. And I think that's just going to make him better, at least on the offensive end.
Also, like, it should be said with Trae, like, it does seem like this is the first coach he's, like, actually respected.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that matters. Like, that matters a lot. And him talking about, like, I want Quin to be my, like, Steve Kerr or whatever, like, it doesn't mean anything just by virtue of him saying it, other than he's willing to buy in. And like with the NBA, sometimes like that is everything. Well, the guy's talented as Trae, like that's everything. He has to respect his coach, or like he's just gonna do his thing. And I don't know the extent to which they're gonna get a bump from Quin, but I think they're gonna get some kind of bump, right? And so what does that look like? Part of it is your superstar being like, no, I'm all in on this guy, and like that trickling down to the rest of the team.
Well done, nephew. Chase Thomas podcast. Hell yeah.